Hello everyone, my name is Don, the movie reviewer, and today we are going to be talking about Ari Aster's Hereditary. This movie is very interesting. I don't know what to say about this movie without spoiling anything, but I'll just give you a brief history lesson on my history with Ari Aster movies. This is his first feature-length film. He did make a short film called The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. I recommend you check that out. It's right up here on YouTube. And it's definitely a strange short film, The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. If you watch The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, you will definitely get a sense of where Ari Aster's head is. And with Hereditary, we definitely get a deep look into the mind of this guy, or at least his taste in horror movies. And I will say that Ari Aster is a guy that we should be looking out for in the near future, just like how Jordan Peele had his breakout with Get Out. Ari Aster, I think, is right up there with Jordan Peele. And yeah, that's all I have to say about this. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Come on, Peter. Let's just do it.
It's heartening to see so many strange new faces here today. I know my mom would be very touched and probably a little suspicious. My mother was a very secretive and private woman.
She isn't gone.
I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
A family is trying to cope with the loss of a relative. During the sequences of events that unfold throughout the movie, the family, and especially the mother, starts to discover a hidden secret that is within their family ancestry. This movie is very strange. I will say that again. Hereditary is a strange movie. And there's nothing much I can say about this movie without spoiling it, so I will do my best to try not to spoil this thing. I will say some positive things about this. I thought that the directing in here was phenomenal. The directing is the highlight of this entire thing. The shots in this movie are beautiful. It definitely has a cinematic approach to it. I will definitely say that the director here shines the most above everything else in here. The director, Ari Aster, shines the most. Like I said, he is a director that we should all be on the lookout for in the near future. The directing, it's absolutely cinematic. It's stylish. It's a beautiful movie to look at. And the acting in here, the performances from Millie Shapiro is highlighted here. Millie Shapiro plays the daughter in this movie, and she gives a stellar performance. Her performance here is phenomenal. She knocks it out of the park completely. And she has a breakout role here too. I think this is her first or second feature-length film, and Millie Shapiro, she's great. She carries the movie on her shoulders. Toni Collette here, I've seen her in lots of other movies, and I think she does a phenomenal job here as well. She carries the movie on her shoulders. The son in here, played by Alex Wolff, also gives a phenomenal performance. The acting in the movie is superb. The directing in here is superb. Those elements are superb. But I will say that I will say another positive thing. The story here is engaging and interesting. I will say for maybe the first quarter of the movie or so, it takes a while to build up. There is this mystery behind everything that's going on. The movie, I like movies that don't spell things out for you, and this movie definitely doesn't spell anything out for you. It leaves, I wouldn't say it leaves things up to interpretation. It explains what's going on, but it's subtle. It's subtle in its approach, trying to explain what's happening in this movie to the audience. And I like movies like that. But then that's when I get into the negative part of this review. And that's, this is nothing. This is nothing. There's nothing happening here. For the quarter of the movie, you know, we get it sets everything up for a long time. Like, we deal with the death of a family member, and it's a very strange atmosphere going on, because you can sense as an audience member that there's something weird going on, but you can't quite put your finger on what's happening. And you know, you see all of these weird things, like you see this necklace that has a symbol on it, and then it pops up throughout the movie. You get these weird images in here. You get a character that shows up and is like, oh yeah, I can show you something, and you can connect with someone, the person that you've lost. Which I think at that point in the movie it gets really interesting. Once they do this whole seance thing, it's interesting. But it's just, there's something off here. It's not, the movie isn't compelling to me. It's just kind of like, there's scenes in this movie, like I will give away one scene. Like there's a scene they kind of show in the trailer where the son is at school and he's freaking out about these supernatural things that are bugging him, and with the death of a loved one. And he's in school, and he there's this moment where he does this thing where he raises his hand in class, and in his hand, you know, it forms into a weird shape, and then he raises his hand and he's like this, and you know, and he's choking and stuff, and he smashes his head into the desk. And there's these other weird things in the movie, like there are these noises that a certain character does. Like she goes something like that. And you know, it's just, when I'm watching this movie, I feel these are things that I've seen in horror movies before. There is nothing original about this movie. The only reason why it may feel original to someone, in my opinion, is because of the acting in here is stellar, and the directing in here is stellar, and the story definitely has a mystery to it that is a slow burn, and the mystery of what is going on unfolds at a slow pace, which is great. I like movies like that, but it's just the story here is not compelling to me. It's not that engaging. There's nothing that's happening for a majority of the movie. Everything here happens by chance, because there's a moment where the son does something to the daughter by accident, and then when that sequence takes place, right after that, that's when the movie really kicks off, and that's when you start getting all of these weird things happening, when you think, oh, there's like a cult or something. And it's like, okay, if that sequence hadn't happened with the son and the daughter, then none of this other stuff that is in motion towards the end would have took place. And so that, it just bothers me. It's like this movie, I was really looking forward to it because I love Ari Aster's The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, and I was thinking that, yeah, you know, watching the trailer for this is going to be something that is original, and it's going to be strange, and it's going to be different based off Ari Aster's previous work. And I watched this, and you know, from the opening I'm thinking, yeah, this is going to be different, because there are lots of nice good shots in here, and there are weird shots. There's lots of weird things happening. There's definitely a lot of things in here that can keep a viewer intrigued. But there's really nothing, there's no satisfying conclusion to this. It just keeps going and it keeps going and keeps going, and there's a mystery, and it's not, to me, it's not satisfying. Like, I understand what's going on. You know, I know what's happening in the movie, but to me, I just didn't care, because it's like I've seen this stuff before. You know, when people make weird noises. You have someone's looking in the mirror and they see their reflection, but yet the reflection that they see is not exactly what they're doing, so they're kind of creeped out by that. You know, they hear weird noises and people do this strange thing with their body, and there's these strange images in here. Like, the movie definitely has an eerie feeling to it, but the story in here is just not compelling enough to me to keep me wanting to watch this again. It's a good movie, but it's not satisfying, I will say that. Overall, I will give Hereditary a solid B. I give it a B because, you know, it's an okay movie. The directing, like I said in here, by Ari Aster is great. I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for his next project. And the acting in here is phenomenal all across the board from everybody. And the story is intriguing, and it has lots of mystery to it, lots of weird images, lots of things that keep the viewer intrigued. But then by the end of it all, I'm not satisfied. I'm left with wanting more, and it's just stuff I've seen before. Like, the horror in here, it doesn't really need to be here. Like, for me, I would have taken all the horror elements out of here and just kept it a straightforward narrative about a family who's dealing with the death of a loved one, and then another loved one dies, and then all this weird stuff like about the cult and all this comes about. Because the horror elements in here is just cliche. It's stuff we've seen before, and I wasn't satisfied with that. And I did read online that there was a 3-hour cut of this movie. I would have liked that. I would have enjoyed a 3-hour cut of this movie to just, you know, stretch everything out more. You know, because like I said, for the first quarter or so of this movie, there's nothing happening. It's just a bunch of setup. And then once a family member dies, that's when everything gets set into motion. But then it's like, okay, if this was the goal from this cult to do this to this one character, well, then it's like it's all by chance, because if this one character hadn't did this thing to this other character by accident, then it wouldn't have set anything else in here in motion. And so I'm just like, why is this stuff happening in the first place? You know, there's really no explanation for it. It's just cuz, and I'm not satisfied with that. It's an intriguing movie. Is it scary? I wouldn't say it's scary. I would say it's extremely grotesque. Like, when it wants to be gross, it is gross. Like, there are some scenes in here that made me cringe a little bit. But as far as it being scary, it's not scary to me. And it goes on forever. And it's just like, okay, you know, setting up things forever. And I'm like, okay, I'm not really... It just didn't do it for me. I was really disappointed, but I'm not saying it's a horrible movie, and I'm not saying it's a great movie. I'm saying it's an okay movie. Hereditary is okay. You check it out if you like horror movies, and yeah, the highlight is the directing and the acting, and other than that, that's pretty much it. I don't care about the story. Maybe I'll do a spoiler review for this, I don't know, but right now, I've seen Hereditary, and it's fine. It's a okay movie. That's all I have to say. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. There were just too many horror cliches. The only element of horror that should have been in this thing was the family dealing with the turmoil that was at the cost of the mother dying, and how Tony Collette's character was grieving about that, and then her her mind disintegrating psychologically and that affecting her son, her husband, and her daughter. And the son doing something to the daughter can still happen, but just they should have taken all the horror cliches in here and just kept it firmly as a straightforward psychological thriller.